However,
The other members of the crew.
Lord, and if you want me to lead the
You
clap,
can lead
or
the
you?
clap.
Gayest thing we'll say all week. 1, 2, 3, clap. Right. Let's do it.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the NOTSTEAM Productions L&L podcast. I'm L. Grimshaw, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host. I don't know why I'm describing you like that.
That's fine. I'll take it. That's cool. I'll take wonderful
Introduce
anything.
yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's me, Liam Davies. Hi guys. Same as always. Although it's New Year, maybe it's New Year.
New you.
It won't be. It'll be New Year, same thing.
Well, yeah. I'm planning on making a few changes this year. I plan on sort of trying to expand my writing and my skills greatly. But I feel like I've been
Cool.
saying that for the last 29 years, so 30th's the charm.
I plan on expanding. I plan on expanding my game catalogue. That's my aim for the year.
Well, we've both got an update in regards to that, as we have.
Should we just go straight into it?
I feel like we should just let them wait. All four of our listeners that are, sat at the edge of their seat, like, oh my god, what is it? What is it?
With bated breath.
I bet they're well excited. Good old Reginald, What have you been playing? Oh, go on, let's pull it out, because...
Yeah, so playing, I've got a PS5. As you well know, of course. We've spoken off air about it, but I got a PS5. At the time of recording, I've had it about 2 weeks now, maybe a little bit longer. I've fallen in love with it. I also got a 4K telly as well. So I'm playing it full 4K, and it's incredible. I'm kind of mental because the main game I've played or I've been playing is The Last of Us Part 1. So I'm playing a 10-year-old game that I've finished 100 times. But this new pretty, gorgeous 60 frames version of it that's just, it's incredible.
Well, it's a rescale, isn't it? It's
that-
like a remastered of the first
it's
one.
it's a remaster. It's exactly the same game. It's just, it's remastered. They've added in one or two of the enemy types from the second game that weren't in the first one. Just one or two. I think they're called the Stalkers.
Yeah, those annoying bastards.
Yeah, yes, they've added a few of them in, but the rest of it's all completely the same. And it's just incredible. I've actually not played the first one for a few years, and you just sort of forget how good it is and how touching some of the moments are and how gritty it can be. I fell in love with it.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit that whilst I wasn't... And it wasn't that I didn't like the actual game itself. I know we've spoken about it a little bit, but I love the story in The Last of Us. I'd the actual story, if I could just sit and watch it, I think,
soon you'll be able to.
I think I'd prefer it because I find the gameplay it's a bit sluggish. It's an effort to play. But I think it's designed to be that way because it's designed to sort of reflect the struggles of, Joel and Ellie and, Abby, and it's designed to feel not necessarily fun.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, although I would argue that the
combat's
is
amazing.
really fun. I love the fun.
The melee combat.
I love the fun. I love the combat.
The melee combat feels amazing, and it felt amazing in the first one. To be honest,
just smashing someone's head in with a brick is just so satisfying. It shouldn't be.
Oh my god!
Wow,
I tried to complete a lot of Last of Us 1 with just melee by itself, which
Yeah.
is very difficult when you get to the clickers and stuff like that. But with the humans,
Yeah.
you just find somebody, pick up a brick, run at them, clobber them, and then run on to your next person and beat them up. And I died a lot doing that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't finished it this time round. I'm quite near the end. I'm just before you get to the hospital at the end. So
Yeah, so you're really at the end.
right before the last level, I guess. But I'm stuck because I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty, and there's a bit where you take on a bloater, which are the big boys that have loads of like armor, and they throw like little grenade type things at you.
Spore
And
bombs.
there's loads of runners and stuff as well. Yeah. And I managed to take all them out. It was a proper scramble, and I've got barely any ammo left. And then you walk around the corner, and then there's twice the amount of enemies, like including there's 2 bloaters, and then a bunch of clickers, a bunch of runners. And I'm like, well, I've got nothing. I've scavenged everywhere. I've got like a tiny bit of ammo, and I've got nothing. I'm like, well, this is me stuck now. But I've played more than enough of it to appreciate it. And since then, I just want to touch on this quickly because I've been playing a game that I've already played. I've been playing Cyberpunk.
Yes.
And wow, like that's how it should have been at launch. Is how I'm playing it now. It should never have come to PS4. That game, I don't think, or that generation. It's just it can't cope with it. Like the PS5 does well, like and you get the choice obviously between ray tracing or 60 frames, the high frame rate. And for me, it's a no-brainer. You go for the 60 frames. I don't know how you land on that.
I never really bothered, to be honest. I've never been asked.
So have you not tried on anything that you've been playing on?
Oh, actually, no.
Have you
I
got?
did change it on Spider-Man, and 60 frames per minute was miles better. Second.
And it's so much better, and the dual sense makes it such a different experience as well. Like the adaptive triggers when you're driving is where I found it the most satisfying. Like you really like clunking it down to press down the accelerator, and then it'll do it'll sort of drop down as you change gear and go faster, and then the brakes will have like real resistance to them. Oh, it's so satisfying.
So, I got a PS5 as well.
So yeah. I heard this.
I've only really been playing a handful of games on it. Mostly God of War Ragnarok, which is amazing.
Where are you up
So
to?
I'm in the elf world with Tyr and Atreus, and we're trying to basically find this light, or we found the light. I don't know what we're trying to do now. One thing that I will say, did you not think that the opening of it was kind of beat for beat was the first God of War? With the fight between Balder and Thor, did you not feel like that was kind of identical?
It was not really. The way I saw it was when Odin strolls in. I got more of a mafia boss vibe.
Yeah, I've got that feel.
And you can tell that he's dangerous himself. He must be.
He's so small.
But exactly, yeah, he's not intimidating in size. Like the way he's talking, he's like sort of almost like a friendly businessman persona in a way, as mafia bosses sort of do in a sort of creepy way. And that Thor is his henchman. It's his muscle. And it's the second that Odin's right, go on, do what you want to him, they blast up out of the ceiling, and that's
it is a great opening fight
against Thor. It is awesome.
It was great. I just felt that with the opening of this one, I felt it was very similar to the first one, and would have liked to have maybe seen them do something a little bit different. Although one thing I will point out that I absolutely loved was the sledding. in the ice through the tundra. I thought that was great. But like, just the whole like fight sequence between Thor and Kratos, and the one between Kratos and Balder, like they just felt very similar. Especially how they both ended like, "Oh, I'll be back for you later," kind of like, just lean away from that, in my opinion.
But what else? Go on.
You could have had.
What
You
would
could
you do
have had
instead?
like Odin came with one of his like Valkyrie. Although it did. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done differently, but I would have done something differently. I suppose it did set it up though in God of War, the first one, didn't it?
Yeah, it sort of followed on from...
Which I did like that. That was really
hidden
cool
scene.
touch.
And there's so much, like, there's more to come that you haven't found out yet, where you realise, you think, wow, they've really thought this through from the first game. Like, there's stuff that happens in the second one, you're like, wow, that's like...
One of the really nice features that I like that they've sort of included, so if you remember in the last God of War, there were these moments where Kratos would, like, go up to some writing on the wall and say, "Boy, what does this say?" And Atreus would read it to Kratos and say, "Oh, this is what it says."
Yeah.
In this one, Atreus is a lot older now, and now it's Atreus asking Kratos to read it out, as though he's been teaching his dad how to read different languages.
Yeah.
And I just think...
How to read the runes.
I think that's a really nice way of basically reusing the same collectible, but having it from, like, a different perspective. Because...
Yeah. I love how when he reads it, sometimes he'll pick up Mimir's head so that Mimir can have a read as well. And Mimir will be like, "It's a good job you learnt the runes, brother." And he's like, "Hey, there we go."
I love Mimir.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, he's class. And now he's like, almost like an uncle in the group.
Yeah.
Sort of, like, he calls everyone brother, but he's sort of like, he's kind of like an older brother to Atreus, and kind of like just an actual brother with Kratos. It's weird, but like, I don't know.
There is.
He's great.
I think what they've done with these two games, in terms of what, because the first games, it was all, which I loved, the one set in the Greek pantheon, but it was all just violence and melodrama. There wasn't any really heartwarming sort of like moments. There was no humanity there. It was just gristle. And I love that. I thought they were really well, because they fit the gameplay style of it just being a standard hack and slash. But with these two, they've really outdone themselves in terms of telling what is actually quite a spectacular sort of fitting story for a character whose history is so violent. Like, like, I always wanted Kratos to succeed, but the reasoning was always very different. I want him to just have this peaceful life that he's, like, been rudely taken from.
Trying to escape trying to escape his troubled past, and you can't escape shit like that, man.
Like, you murk an entire generation of gods, and, that stuff kind of sticks.
There's usually blowback from that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What did you think about the... Because I imagine there's more to come, but the bit where you play as Atreus...
I dig it. Yeah, I quite liked it. But I must say, whenever I was playing as Atreus, I was sort of always in the back of my mind, like, I'd kind of rather be Kratos. Like, he's the man, isn't he? We're playing God of War, not God of Mischief. Although I would play that game.
I just found it. Yeah. I found it interesting, and I liked there was a bit where you find a chest, and obviously Kratos just comes along and punches it and takes whatever's inside out. and Atreus tries to sort of mimic it. And like walks up to this chest, like really like, "Urgh," and like goes to punch it and like breaks his hand, and then just starts hitting it with other things. This is what I mean. Like these little injections of
there's so many little touches of heart, and just make it feel real and really make you connect with the characters. I think something that these two games have done better than most games for the last, I don't know, 10 years.
If you'd have told me and I'd have told you like 15 years ago that God of War was going to be one of the game of the years for a lot of people,
but they'd laugh at you. I would be one of the people laughing. I'd be like, you're having me on what Kratos like being heartwarming and like moving. And telling a compelling story, like, come on, get off it.
But they've completely pivoted. They've completely changed the style. I haven't completed God of War Ragnarok just yet, so I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens at the end of this game, but I'm excited for whatever they might have in the future. Is all I'm gonna say.
I am. To be fair, I think without saying how it ends, it's in a spot where it's like, ooh, I wonder what they could do next. Like, ooh. So it's one to look out for in the next probably 8-10 years off. I reckon they'll be doing other stuff. I don't think they'll go straight into.
Although Santa Monica Studios, I can only think of a handful. The majority of their stuff's either God of War or like indie games. They did Journey.
They may focus on a new IP. Yeah. They may focus on a new IP or something. I don't think they've got any plans to do more stuff. I think there might be some DLC for Ragnarok coming up. But I think that would be it.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't know where you could possibly go after you've done sort of the main two, without sort of like just it becoming a bit ludicrous and a bit sort of like but I think even if they do start a new IP, I'd be down for that. Like even if
I'm sure whatever they do next will be a cracking game.
What else have I been playing? Sorry, I'm just going to refer to. I did play GTA Online for PS5. Because it was one of the only games that has driving that I have. Did notice a big difference, but another cool little factor on that is that because it's winter, it's snowing in Los Santos, and you do actually have to take that into fact when like you brake, and like so. If you're going around a corner and you're going too fast, you'll skid if you brake too hard on the snow.
Yeah.
So that's just a really cool feature. But yeah, you can feel like the rumble as like you pull away. Like there's like a biting point that if you just squeeze it to that point, you go slightly faster, or like you accelerate faster than if you like gun it. Like just little things like that make it really, really cool. One other thing that I do want to point out in regards to the PlayStation 5 is that tutorial for the actual controller and what the Astro's Playroom. What a
Astrobot Playroom,
wonderful little demo.
It's fantastic. I think you can call it a game.
It's fantastic.
There's lots of levels. There's
lots
of different mechanics that it brings in that utilize the pad in incredible ways. That like when I only played maybe 10 minutes of it while I was waiting for something to install. But I did like this little springy man.
Yeah.
Thing. It's like he gets in this little robot and it's got a spring on, and you tilt the controller to aim the guy, and you squeeze down the right trigger, and you can feel it being really springy. Like as you're pushing it down, and then you let go and he pops up, and there's a really satisfying rumble when he does it. It's,
I thought it were really cool. Gave me sort of like nostalgia vibes of sort of like Spyro and that style of game.
Yeah, like classic platform
And
style.
I also just really like the museum aspect of it. So there's like, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's the room where you can collect PlayStation memorabilia.
Yeah, there's lots of the like, past characters
Like,
and
yeah,
consoles
like
and stuff.
it's so cool. Like, because I remember having the PlayStation 1 and it
Yeah, me too.
filling like just playing Tekken, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, various other games, and you know, like the fact that they've kind of given us that little museum to sort of go back and have a look and you know see how far it's come. I think it's ace. I think it's a really cool little fun thing that they've added in that I think actually improves the console. Like, because it's a good way of getting used to the actual controller.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That rain effect is weird.
Yes. Yeah, it's so good though. You're like, whoa. Individual drops all over the pad. You're like, wow, that's... Yeah, it really like is a step up from... obviously I've been playing Series S, which is technically next gen, because it has an SSD, but it doesn't have the same performance, and the controller is just like a bog standard controller now. Because I have been back to Xbox since playing the PlayStation, because I've before I got my PS5, I actually got Marvel's Midnight Suns, which I've been playing as well, which is from the makers of XCOM. It's 2K. It's a lot of things. It's a strategic, turn-based card game, RPG, sort of social sim as well. So you have your sort of typical, not really typical XCOM style missions, but you'll have your XCOM-ish style missions where you've got your three heroes who each have their own individual deck of cards, of 8 cards, I think it is. And the systems that it uses for the combat it's so good. It really makes using like the environment important, and you can hit enemies into other enemies, and you have to really plan ahead with your cards. It's really good. But then the other half of it is when you're at what's called the Abbey, which is like the hub world in between missions, and they've tried to go down the sort of Mass Effect route where you can go around and talk to your teammates, and like you actually build friendships with them, and you unlock stuff. Like the higher your friendship level goes and stuff, but it's not at the sort of Mass Effect level of writing and performance. It's more Saturday morning TV style, so there is some nostalgia there that I quite like, but it's not really enticing me sort of story wise either. Like the main baddie is Lilith,
Bit generic.
You know, it's like out of all the Marvel baddies they could have gone for, like why not Galactus? You know, let's fight Galactus in space. You know, something like that. But no. But the combat is that good that
it's worth playing.
I don't care about the story. Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably 20 hours in, and I haven't unlocked all the characters yet.
Oh wow!
And yeah, it's getting good. So yeah,
I've been also playing, not on console, but on mobile. Marvel Snap.
Way good stuff. Welcome
It's
to the
pretty
club.
cool. It is pretty much just Gwen.
It is basically,
and,
yeah.
You know, I'm all for Gwen. I find the sort of move counter that you get like there's only like 6 rounds, and on the 6th round you get more. Like I kind of want it to go on for longer. Like I want more. I want to be able to play more combos.
Oh no, I think they're perfect. I think perfect in like there is a card that makes it go 7 turns.
I have
If you've had that yet. Magic, who's actually a character in Midnight Suns. Just saying. But yeah, I've been playing the absolute shit out of that game. So the way that you unlock cards is that card level meter or whatever it's called, that little green number. What do you know off the top of your head what your green number is? Roughly.
Less than 100, I think.
Right, okay. Well, mine's like, I think I'm nearly on 1700.
Let it.
So if you want any tips, I think I'm your man.
To be fair, I've only lost one game that I've played.
Yeah, you're still early on. Yeah.
Oh God, that went right.
25.
25. Yeah.
25. So yeah, you've had like 5 games or something.
This episode is not sponsored by Marvel Snap. It's not.
Although it could be. If they want to reach out, I'd gladly take the money.
Yeah. If you do want to sponsor us, that'd be great. We can make each other into superheroes.
Cool. Well, one of the longest intros that we've ever done. Nearly half an hour in. So yeah, do you want to take us into our first thing?
Well,
of the
so
day?
this is a bit of a special episode, isn't it, Liam? Because this is like our awards.
We should have
show.
mentioned that from the top.
Well, we
really.
did in the first recording, but this is the second because my phone decided to die. So we're having to re-record. But yeah, this is kind of our awards.
Yeah, so apologies if we make reference to an episode that didn't happen.
Reginald's fine.
It's kind of hard when you've done the record and then you're like, oh, we need to wipe it from our memory.
Try again.
That never happened.
So yeah, this is a bit of a like sort of award show. Now, quick disclaimer: we're not necessarily going to be talking about everything that came out this year, but things that we've sat down and enjoyed this year. Whether it came out this year,
Last year.
Oh shit! Yeah, fuck me. In 2022.
That's the year.
Or we could just try and summarise this coming year, like in 6 days. Yeah, so we're not necessarily talking about everything that came out last year. May have been something that came out a year prior or whatever. It's just we've got round to watching it last year. Or playing it. But we've got an actual Games Awards. So we'll do quick. You're going to mention a little bit about TV? Some of your highlights of the TV world?
Yeah, well, we were talking a little bit before how I've not really watched many films this year, but I watched a lot of cracking TV. I think it's been a really generally cracking year for TV. The ones that I want to mention are ones that I've already spoken about on the podcast, but there's Andor, which probably the best show that's been on TV this year for me. It really sort of came out of nowhere for me. I wasn't expecting it to be almost exactly what I wanted it to be, which is like a proper spy thriller, sort of almost Cold War-esque in vibes, and all the tension that's built, and there's a heist, and there's like amazing visuals. So they filmed it differently to how they filmed The Mandalorian. They've used basically traditional film techniques.
I remember you saying.
Andor, so it looks a lot darker, and the colour palette's a lot more toned down. And yeah, it's so tense. And some cracking sequences in it. Some great characters as well. And it just I think it's been quite sort of kind of important. I think for both Star Wars, but also Disney as a whole. Like when they're doing these sort of spin-off shows, they can be sort of set in that world, but it doesn't have to be like, say, The Mandalorian, for example. As much as I like the Mandalorian, it feels very Star Wars when you're watching that. Whereas Andor, it felt like as if it could have easily been just set on Earth.
Yeah, just like in the
You know,
future.
and
Just
not even that. It could be a story from today. It's all about oppression and fascism, and how when good people who are in a position to do good do nothing, it lets evil rise. And that's sort of the story with all of Star Wars, but the way they show it in Andor is it's a human story. Like, there's very few aliens. In fact, I can't really think of any. I don't think there's any aliens in Andor. They're all human. And yeah, it's so good. I think probably the best Star Wars thing since Empire Strikes Back.
ooh.
Which is, yeah, I know. But yeah, it's friggin' awesome. I'm going to watch it again, actually, because that's...
In all fairness,
Quality
my
TV.
favourite Star Wars movie is Rogue One. Like, because it, for me, kind of has, as you've described, it didn't feel too connected with Star Wars, whilst it also being hugely integral to Star Wars.
And yeah, but again, like, you could dumb that story, not really dumb it down, but you could sort of take away the sci-fi aspect.
And it'd be set in World War II.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a cracking war story, and that's sort of what they've done with Andor. And yeah, I was absolutely blown away by it. Like, Andy Serkis is in it. He's incredible. It's just so good. It really, really cracking bit of telly. Although it's very closely followed by The Boys season 3,
Yeah.
which probably not as important for TV.
Just
man,
what a ride.
That is one of the best TV shows on TV at the moment. It's fantastic.
I would watch
Yeah.
Happy. It's so good. The guy that plays
Yeah, I'll add it
the
to the
guy
list.
that plays the detective is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, I've seen him in stuff before.
but yeah. Any of
But yeah, the boy. Yeah, my housemates are actually watching The Boys through at the moment. Not for the first time; they've seen it before. So whenever I'm sort of like, if I'm sat with them, or if I'm just walking past, like, I see it on, I'm like, oh, is this the Hero-gasm episode? And like,
that
oh, it's just so good. That's been brilliant. And last couple of mentions, but I won't spend too long on these because we've spoken about these quite a lot on the pod. But the Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings show, I thought was brilliant. There's lots of people giving it a bit of jip online, but I thought it was, like, really, really brilliant. I thought, again, one of the best shows on this year, and again, I think quite important for how adaptations are going to be getting made going forward. I think for a book, or that sort of book style adaptation, it needs to be a TV show. You can't dumb 250, 300 pages down to, a 2 hour, even a 3 hour film. You're still going to lose so much.
It's why we ended up getting loads of those like really shit movies of like book shy, because they just crammed as much as they could into like a 90-minute blockbuster, and it didn't work.
Although apparently Amazon have just signed a deal to make The Dark Tower into a TV series.
I was reading about that.
If it's the same people that do The Rings of Power, then I'm on board, because that'll be brilliant. I think it's gonna be it's probably one of the hardest things you could adapt, because it's like it's totally fucked, man. There's like real world stuff, and then there's book world stuff, and like it's the lines between reality are kind of thin.
Well, you've got like stuff like American Gods and Sandman that's really sort of paved the way for like surrealist TV.
Yeah.
Do you know? I think personally, one of the very first TV shows that did sort of surrealist, contemporary action shots and things like that, like where it with these like weird sequences within scenes, was Hannibal.
Mentions of TV for the year. We're doing a little section later on about stuff we're looking forward to, and I've got a couple of TV things in there, so I'll leave those for now.
So
But yeah, go for it. What you telling us about films?
So I've watched a number of great movies this year. One that I want to instantly get off my chest is Batman. The Batman.
Thank you. I was going to say that's my film of the year.
Fantastic, brilliant.
Yeah, it's the Batman.
I said The Batman.
Get out there. Oh, it sounded like you just said Batman.
He is vengeance.
My bad, man.
He is vengeance.
I am vengeance.
Brilliant. Like I say, even though I do think it could have been a bit shorter, it was a very long film.
It could, yeah. There's probably half an hour you could have trimmed out of there, but I didn't really care.
No, neither did I, because
I was like, more Batman? Like, yes, please.
Possibly
Why the fuck
the
not?
best Batman movie I've ever seen.
I'm on the fence, to be honest. Like, I love it, don't get me wrong. I think it's the best Batman suit. I think it's the best Batmobile. I think he's the best Bruce Wayne. Sort of a moody, emo Bruce Wayne. Like, yeah, I'm into that. I think, yeah, it probably is the best Batman film. 'Cause you could argue that the Dark Knight isn't even really a Batman film. It's more of a crime film.
A lot, like...
So if we're going by that argument, then yeah, the Batman
I'm, like, don't get me wrong, I think the Christopher Nolan Batman films are good. I don't think they're as... The Dark Knight is amazing. Purely because of Heath Ledger.
Yeah, the second one.
Purely because of Heath Ledger.
Yes.
Like, he absolutely steals that movie. Like...
It is a great film, though. Like, obviously, that makes it, but...
I think if you cast anybody else as the Joker in that movie, it would not be as popular as...
It's hard to say. I think you could possibly say that whoever else was cast, if someone else was cast in that role, if they died in the same fashion, then maybe it would have, you know.
I know.
It's one of those you can't really argue it because there's no way of knowing.
But,
I don't think we should. Yeah, let's move on from that.
One of my next favourite movies, one that I watched quite early on this year, 1917.
Oh yeah, I recommended this to you.
You did recommend it to me.
Yeah.
Now, straight off the bat, I'm not the biggest fan of war movies. I find them all a bit tedious sometimes, but every so often there is one that I will sit down and I'll sort of...
Remind me, because I'm terrible with war films. Is 1917 the one?
Yeah,
it's
one continuous shot, and it's the kid from Game of Thrones, and I think the other kid's been in Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, I can't. I know who he is.
Basically, they've got to deliver a letter to this general who's about to do an attack, but they need to deliver this letter, and this letter basically says, like, look, do not attack because it's a trap.
Yeah.
And it's all about their story of going through the battlefields and everything. It's amazing. So good. Like, and just one of those where, because it just follows two guys, you do feel connected for them. You feel a sort of sense of dread for them when, like, things start to go a bit awry for them, and you're like, oh shit, like, you know, keep running.
Yeah, and it's all shot on Steadicam as well, so it's like gives it that real like sense of tension. Like you're right there in the action. Like, I didn't see it at the cinema. I wish I had. It's brilliant. I've seen some behind the scenes thing of it actually, where I think it's at the start where he's running along the beach and there's like bombs going off and all sorts, and he's sort of running towards the camera. There's a bit where there's a bunch of lads sort of run across him, and he runs into one of them and they fall over. And like that wasn't in the script. It wasn't supposed to happen. He just fell over, but he just like got up, carried on running, and like everyone, like all the production crew, like carried on. And then that's the shot that they use in the film.
Amazing.
Like, it's real.
It's
what a film.
Such a watch. Another one that you recommended that I'm going to put on here. Is it the King with?
Oh yeah. The Kick with Timothy Chalamet.
Really, really cool film. Really enjoyed that. And then my final two.
Makes you feel patriotic, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Like that final fight scene where he's like, "Do it for England!" I'm like, yeah, do it for England.
With that
brilliant.
Like weird little Britain voice. Do it for England! Come on! With your pitchforks!
Yeah, that's how I'd do it.
Your pitchforks and your shovels.
Yeah, I shouldn't ever be on.
The two final ones. Spencer, absolutely incredible adaptation of Princess Diana. Now I'm not a fan of the royals.
Oh yeah.
Particularly don't care for them. But I think that the story of Diana was very sad, very inspiring, very sort of like she was a good force. Sort of, like she did a lot. She represented a lot. She did a lot for mental health, because sort of towards the end of her life, when she was telling people about her struggles, it kind of normalized a lot of mental health issues. Which previously were considered sort of a taboo, but as soon as Princess Diana started talking about them, you'll notice that there was a trend of it sort of softening, because
she once shook a man's hand who had HIV. She shook his hand on TV, and it was like the first time that they even showed anyone shaking a person's hand with HIV on TV, and it was Princess Diana. And that was another thing that she started off, the awareness that you're not going to catch HIV from being in close proximity to someone with HIV. Which is fucking mad.
Can I?
Yeah. She was
exactly.
incredible.
And can I just say, Kristen Stewart, somebody who I can't really say I've enjoyed anything she's ever been in, because majority of what she's been in has been films that I wouldn't personally watch, but I've kind of been forced to watch. Spencer, she is phenomenal. Like, she plays that role absolute justice.
I think she won the Oscar, Best Actress Oscar.
Hats off to her, that she fucking deserves it. Her accent's brilliant. She looks like Diana with her hair and everything.
Oh, I've seen the trailers and stuff. Like, it's uncanny.
Honestly, it is really worth a watch, even if you're not a fan of the royals, because, like I say, I'm not. But it's one of those that is definitely worth the time of watching, especially if you want to know a little bit more about sort of the royal family traditions and how stupid they are. You know that they like weigh themselves on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I've seen the Crown, which again, like I'm not really into the royals, but if you want to know a little bit more about them, like watch the Crown. That's great. Like, obviously, it'll be similar to Spencer, where a lot of it's sort of based around real events, but sort of the conversations behind closed doors, that'll be sort of made up to a certain extent, But yeah. It looks great. It looks quite tastefully done, which I think is always important when you're doing such a loved figure like Princess Diana.
Like when I first heard about it, I was a little bit like, really, Kristen Stewart, really?
Yeah, I was a bit.
But honest,
But to be fair, like when you look at what those two have done from Twilight, like we were talking about Robert Pattinson before. He's Batman now. Like if you'd have told us 10, 15 years ago, we're doing this a lot today, that Robert Pattinson would be Batman and that Kirsten Stewart would win an Oscar, I'd be like, are you high?
yeah. But to be fair, Robert.
Like, what the
So
fuck?
Robert Pattinson's been in a lot of sort of indie movies. So he was in that Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe, which is just a
Yeah. But so she's done a lot of.
In all
indie
fairness,
stuff and sort of worked on her acting chops.
I have seen the odd film where she's been in it. I've really enjoyed it, and like I'm not one of the Runaways. She's in the Runaways where she plays Betty and the Rocket. Is it Betty and the Rocket? No. Bad Reputation version of a famous like punk singer. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she sang Bad Reputation, and she was part of the Runaways. Well, she plays the younger version of her in the Runaways, and she's absolutely brilliant in that. And it's also got, do you know Michael Shannon, the really weird looking man that plays General Zod in Superman, Man of Steel?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
he's in it as well.
Yeah. He's cracking.
Amazing.
He was in Boardwalk Empire.
So
He's brilliant
fucking weird in that. Like,
yeah, he's brilliant. He's such a strange dude. But yeah, he's class.
And then my one final movie shout out, it's probably going to be Dog. The Channing Tatum one.
Oh yeah. Which I never thought I would hear you say. Like, oh, I love this film about a dog with Channing Tatum. Who the fuck are you? And what have you done?
I love Channing Tatum. I think he's a really underrated comedy actor.
Oh yeah, comedy actor, but this isn't a comedy film, is it?
It's.
Oh, is it?
It's got the sort of like Silver Lining Playbook sort of feel to it. It's a sort of dark comedy because it's all about a ex-marine for whatever regiment he is. Basically, he used to be in the army, and then he was basically discharged due to medical concerns, and he's trying to get back in because he doesn't fit into life outside of the army. Because a lot of them don't. And in order for him to get back in, he gets given this task. One of his old army buddies has died, and the family want his dog, his service dog, at the funeral.
The army dog, yeah.
But the dog's got PTSD, he's got PTSD, and it's like this sort of road trip. And the backstory behind it is really nice as well. It's kind of a passion project of Channing Tatum's, because he is a very dog-centered person, and he based it on actual events that he experienced, but changed it to have this like war movie, not war movie, but like But I know what you mean. Yeah, like touching on veterans and stuff. Yeah, it's just all round just a really good film. Like, I actually found it really nice to watch. It was a movie that I have recommended to pretty much like whenever you go around to somebody, it's like, oh, have you watched Dog? Like, it's really good, and the dog in that movie deserves an Oscar because it's so cute. It's just
it's an Alsatian.
Belgian Malmut.
Oh right.
Malmut. That's it.
Cool.
But it's just such a good dog. But it is a good film, and it does have a happy ending. Like, it's
okay. Good, because this is why I don't watch dog films, because the dog always dies and then I'm a blubbering mess by the end of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if you still ended up being a bit of a blubbering mess, because I got close a few times.
Well,
but it does have a happy ending.
Yeah.
It has a really sort of cool ending. So it's worth a watch.
Well, don't watch that one with Tom Hanks, I can't remember what it's called, but he's got a dog in that, and it's like a post-apocalyptic thing where there's been like a solar flare, and it's basically cooked the planet, turned it into like a desert, and he's like a scientist guy that's travelling around in an RV. And he's trying to survive. He's got a dog and a robot with him, and he's basically training this robot up to look after the dog after he's gone. And you're like, oh fuck, and yeah, that got me. And that, the dog doesn't die in that, but yeah, that got me as well.
You'll be safe with this.
God damn.
You'll be safe with dog.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, it's good watch.
Okay. Good. Sweet. Well, cool beans. Well then, that was our little look at film and TV of last year, 2022. I want to have a quick look at the year in games, and not necessarily games in particular, but sort of gaming news, like stuff that happened in the year that was sort of interesting, that stood out to you, and me. I don't know, do you want me to go first?
No, so one thing that I noticed when getting, because I got a Switch last year, one of the things that I noticed is the sort of indie market has boomed more than sort of it has done before, and it's nice to actually see now indie games get sort of the sort of praise that they deserve, because whilst the AAA center will always, hold the highest specs and stuff like that, the games that have hours of playability are usually in the indie market. Like, I've got Rogue Legacy. I've got it downloaded on my PS5 at the moment, and I've had it downloaded on my PS4 since the day I got it. And it's just one of those games that, it's a typical dungeon crawler where, you jump on enemies to kill them and, like, hit them and stuff, and it's really difficult, so you end up dying a lot, but any money that you die with, you take back, and you can build up your traits, so next time you last a bit longer. That kind of thing. You're always going to be able to find stuff like that in the indie market, and you're always going to be able to not even look that hard. Like, just know what kind of you're looking for, and you'll be able to find it. Yeah,
whatever your taste is, like, there's an indie game tailored perfectly to that. Like, some of the indie games, they'll build around like one or two mechanics, and then that'll be it. But they'll expand on them as the game evolves and what have you. And some people will absolutely dig it. Others will be like, "What the hell is this?
Oh yeah,
what are you talking about?" But because it's an indie game, it takes 30 seconds to download it, jump on it, and you'll know within 30 seconds whether it's for you or not. And yeah, and I think the Switch is such a great way into that. Like, so many games come to Switch. I think the word of the year is POTS, which is just, was it POTS? No, pause, POES, port everything to Switch. No, pets. Sorry, ports everything to Switch.
What?
PETS.
Ports. Pets.
Everything to Switch. Pets. I couldn't agree with you more.
Like, it's just so cool, and like, I've always been a fan of like my sort of low res gaming experiences, like Death Road to Canada. Then there's stuff like Hyper Light Drifter, and like the access that I have now with Switch, which I do struggle playing sometimes indie games that are like low res on like a big TV, because I feel like you lose, like, say something like Hades. I don't think I'd ever really be able to play that fully on console, because it's too.
So I don't know if that's a good example, because it's kind of a beautiful game.
It is a beautiful game.
I bet that looks really good on
I don't
PS5.
know. I suppose it would be expanded, but I find it easier
to play. Like a pixel. I know what you mean, like a pixel graphics game.
Yeah. Okay.
Would be.
Okay, maybe Hades.
I know what you mean.
Was
like
a bad example.
That would be better on a smaller screen. I get what you mean, but yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm trying to think of that style of game where you like top-down view and you're trying to. That's what I was trying to think of. But with the handheld and the Switch,
see, I played Diablo 3 on Switch, which like, it's quite old, really. Diablo 3, when you think about it. If you play that on PS4, PS5, whatever, you know, it's not the prettiest game, but you pop it on Switch, nice small screen. It's it's perfect. I think that kind of game. Yeah. Oh, like things like what's it called, like roguelites. Dead Cells. Like that's much better for me. Much better on Switch than it would be on PS5.
That's what I was thinking of when I was,
you know,
trying to explain.
Yeah, like
because I've been playing that on PlayStation Plus, but then I was trying to think. So I used Hades as a placeholder. But yeah, no, I was thinking stuff like Dead Cells and Blasphemous.
Yeah, cool. First thing that I sort of wanted to point out, we've already kind of touched on slightly, but was that sort of the year for Marvel card games.
Yeah,
and they're just awesome. Like Marvel Snaps Class and Midnight Suns is great. I wonder what Marvel card games we'll get next year.
There's I'm sure there's actually a Marvel like collectible, like actual physical
I'm sure there
cards.
is. Yeah, and there'll be Marvel Top Trumps.
Oh yeah,
as well.
no, there's Marvel Top Trumps. So I think I've got a deck.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah, we should have a game on the pod.
Ooh.
Great podcast. I think the main thing from the year for me was sort of acquisitions.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone knows about Microsoft going mental and just buying everything. I'm not sure if it's completely gone through yet, but their bid for acquiring Activision Blizzard is something like nearly 70 billion or something, and you're like, wow, that's insane! Like, what a mad amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa. Just think of some of the stuff that comes with, like World of Warcraft, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, MMORPG out there. You've got Call of Duty. They release a Call of Duty every year, and it sells
way more
40
than
million
it
copies
needs to.
every single time. Every single time. And I kind of like the way that Microsoft go about it as well, because they acquired Activision, or they're sort of in the works of doing it, and they've already reached an agreement with Nintendo for the next 10 years, so that they've got Call of Duty on Switch going forward. And one of the heads of Microsoft tweeted out, he said, yeah, I've got that deal sorted with Nintendo. Whenever Sony want to have a chat, like, we're open to sorting out a similar sort of deal. Because obviously fans are like, oh, well, I've got a PlayStation, does that mean I'm not going to be able to play Call of Duty when the next Call of Duty comes out, blah blah blah. And they're like, no, we're still going to sell it on all consoles. Why wouldn't we? It'd be fucking stupid not to. Like,
It's. I mean, I get it, but I disagree with the whole monopoly sort of ethos. But yeah, like.
but it's only like, when you look at it, PlayStation have got so many more exclusive IPs than Xbox have,
and I think always have.
And yeah, I think that's always sort of been the case. But Sony are in the sort of the vein of releasing their first party stuff to PC now. It's usually sort of a year or two down the line after the PlayStation release. But like Death Stranding's on PC now. The first God of War's on PC.
Is it?
The Spider-Man games are on PC. Oh. Yeah. Like, I don't think it was long ago actually that God of War came to PC. So like the new God of War won't come to PC for probably 12, 18, 24 months. Yeah, it's like I'm kind of glad that Microsoft are going on this mad spree, getting loads of studios in, which they did a few years ago, if you remember. Probably like 3 or 4 years ago now, they announced that they'd bought like 10 studios, and like, yeah, we've got these 10 studios now, all making Xbox exclusive games. And we're like, well, where the hell are they? And I think the big wigs are thinking much the same. They're like, yeah, we need to get some, because the ones that they bought last time were kind of smaller, up and coming studios, whereas now they're just balls to the wall. let's get the big boys in. Like, what sells? Like, Call of Duty sells. Like, right, let's buy Call of Duty. Let's do it. Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Bethesda. It's like, what else sells? Like, well, people are still playing Skyrim, and that's 10 years old.
Oh,
like,
I did
Skyrim?
actually. I did actually download Skyrim onto my PS5.
No.
I did.
No.
I think it.
I can't say anything. Playing Last of Us for the third console. Like,
just because I wanted to know, really, like, what has changed. Fuck all. Moving on.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Is it a PS5 version?
You get a free upgrade.
Is it? All right. Okay. Yeah, because I'm refusing to install anything on my PS5 that isn't a PS5 version, with one exception: The Last of Us Part 2.
Do you not get a free upgrade for that?
Because I don't think there's a. I don't know if there is a PS5 version, or maybe there is, and I'm being stupid. I don't know, but there is no option to upgrade for free.
I was in CEX earlier. I'm sure.
I'll have to have a look.
But it could be wrong. It will look beautiful
Yeah, I'll
on
have to
PS5. Another thing that I've sort of bit alarmed about. Well, not alarmed. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being whatever.
Something you've noticed. Yeah.
The sort of need to remaster and reboot. Like, we're getting a lot of. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for a lot of them. But
I've been saying this for fucking years.
But we're getting, like, the recent Last of Us Part 1 being remastered. And I know you were playing it, and I know you were saying, like, you're enjoying it. But it's because you just...
But I completely agree with everything you're about to say.
It's just because you enjoyed the first time you played it. It doesn't need to be remastered. Just play it.
No, it didn't need to be.
Like...
No. I think I know why. I kind of know why they've done it. It's like it's so that it's like a set now. You know, it's called Part 1. You've got Part 2, and they're in the same engine. So when I finish the Part 1, or I might just go straight to Part 2, and then it'll look the same. They've changed the character models so that they match the ones in Part 2.
I do want to.
So I sort of get why they did it. I'll be honest, the only reason I got it, because it was still like 50 quid or something. The only reason I got it is because when I got my PS5, I got vouchers with it as well. I got £200 worth of vouchers. So I thought, well, they just sat there. I've still got £100 worth that I haven't used. And, I thought, well, what do I want? I thought, well, I'll get that, please. And I upgraded my PlayStation Plus as well.
Get GTA Online. Just the online.
Yeah. Is it on PlayStation Plus?
It's on PlayStation. It's $8.99. But once you bought it, you've bought it.
Yeah.
That's fun. But yeah, no, I just think it's a bit lazy. But having said that, though, there are a lot of games that are being remastered that I'm really excited for. So
same here. I've made the same complaint so many times. It's like, where's the creativity
Max Payne,
gone?
Silent Hill, Destroy All Humans 2,
Dead Space, Knights of the Old Republic.
Like, there's the... isn't there a... No.
There's an Assassin's Creed game coming out next year called Mirage, which is basically like a soft remake of Assassin's Creed 1. It's not really a remake, but
it's sort of a reboot.
Yeah, sort of.
There's a lot in the works.
Yeah.
I believe there's another Final Fantasy remake.
Oh, Resi 4.
Oh, Resi 4. Which, like...
I don't know, I thought you might like that. It's considered one of the best, isn't it? Resi 4.
They're alright, I just prefer Silent Hill. So I'm more excited for the Silent Hill remake that's been announced and that's coming out.
Well, it's been announced. I don't think it'll ever come out.
Don't say that.
Silent Hill's been so fucking cursed. It's like you had Kojima making a Silent Hill, and then it went tits up.
And Guillermo del Toro.
How good would that have been as well? Yeah, it's mad. The other thing I've noticed, well, it's still on the acquisition side of things from last year, but the rise of a company called Embracer Group. So they're a video game collective, I think they refer to themselves as. And yeah, they're quietly becoming one of the biggest names in gaming. I did a bit of research. I've got some figures here for you. You ready for some figures? So they've got 120 studios.
Okay.
They've got more than 230 games currently in development. They own more than 850 intellectual properties, including games like Tomb Raider, because they just bought Square Enix. So they've got Deus Ex as well. And they've just bought, which is mental, they've just got the gaming and movie rights to The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, I remember from last time we recorded, you mentioned this.
Yeah, so they've got the rights to the first age of The Lord of the Rings. So the way that it's a fucking mess, the way that The Lord of the Rings is broken down and sold off, right? So the Lord of the Rings that we know and love, that's the third age. The Peter Jackson films, that's the third age. The Rings of Power that we've just had, that's second age. They say that's sort of why in the Rings of Power, you don't actually see the baddie from the first age, because they don't have the rights to show him. So they mention him once or twice, but they can't show him. They can't show the Elven homeland because that's a first age thing. So it's talked about, and like it's
I'm gonna do that with my Nasiba verse.
They're gonna make some. Sell it in parts. Sell
it in different clump realities.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Like you can create anything in this stasis. You can create everything in this stasis.
Yeah. And it's why as well. So you know they're called Middle Earth, Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games. They're not called Lord of the Rings because the studio had the rights to the third age, right? So they had third age rights, but they didn't give them the rights to use the name Lord of the Rings because it's a violent game, and the Tolkien estate was like, we don't want to be associated with a violent game.
The movies are pretty violent.
They've got the rights to make this game. Yeah, the movies are hella violent, yeah. But this was obviously probably 10 years or so afterwards. And yeah. And the new Rings of Power, that's pretty violent as well. It's as violent as the films are. There's, orcs getting their heads cut off and stuff. But yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see what Embracer Group put out. And for some of the reports I've read about them as well, they seem like really well run, sort of run by gamers. Like it's more a creative effort than it is a money making conglomerate like say EA or Microsoft. It's like they seem to be more in touch with the art side of things rather than trying to make a free to play game where they're going to milk people with microtransactions.
It's more about the actual experience. It's more
exactly.
No, I appreciate that. To be fair,
so looking forward to that. That was my points of last year.
With that, we're going to take a quick break, and we're back. Like that, like magic. We're back.
Like magic. I just want to say before we get started, actually, it just popped into my head while I was having a wee on break. Then, do you think we've ever done an episode of the pod without mentioning God of War and or KRATOS? I think somebody's going to have to do some research on this, but I'm pretty sure he gets a mention on every single episode.
There are certain things that have had numerous mentions, but he's
There
just
is, yeah.
badass. He is just amazing.
He is, yeah.
Like the full transformation that he's had is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
And do you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Well, without further ado, let's get into it, because I have a feeling he's going to get a mention in our next segment anyway.
Well, this next bit, just before we get on to the actual awards, I want to quickly do my ᚗᚖᚾ᚞ᚱᚁ plug,
Go for
which is called Invited. It's a CryBaby short. Now, CryBaby is a character who is kind of a mix of Deadpool, sort of violence, and sort of being able to navigate her way through chaos quite efficiently. So that she could have like a corridor full of guys trying to shoot her, but she'll like be able to sort of like duck and weave her way to getting rid of them all. She has like this sort of Kill Bill aesthetic to her in this one, but
what, a yellow?
no, but
suit?
more that she
Yellow
stands
jumpsuit.
out in the sort of comparison to what everybody else is wearing, and like I've
Right,
described
yeah.
the world around her as being very grey, monotonous, but her being more sort of vibrant. And it comes to end in this sort of big Dark Souls inspired boss fight. And it's a short
Right, yeah.
that...
So she dies.
No,
Does she?
well,
Repeatedly.
you have to read it and find out.
Is it me playing as her? Then yeah, she does.
But it sets up a sort of arc that I want to explore within the ᚗᚖᚾ᚞ᚱᚁ. And I
Cool.
have another short story which kind of follows this one in the works.
double
So
whammy.
yeah, it's called Invited. It's available on my Patreon to read now. Like and subscribe. Find it on my Patreon for free.
Hey.
New year. Please read my stuff. Please. Please.
Yep. Good plug, man. So yeah, on Patreon, you know where he is. Like and subscribe, guys.
Google NOTSTEAM
Yeah,
Productions.
take us into our main segment. Yeah, Google NOTSTEAM. Yeah, but yeah, take us into our
So, our
game awards.
celebratory award. So, we're talking about our 5 favourite games that we've played this year. Again, disclaimer, not necessarily ones that came out this year, but ones that we've got around to playing this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to refer to my notes, and I am still sort of tallying it in my head, so I am going to make some snap decisions.
Okay. Well, I know my number 5. If you want me
You
to
go
go
first.
Okay, so definitely didn't come out in 2022, but I think because it became playable in 2022, then it counts. I'm going for Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
Obviously, it was released in 2020, but it was in such a state that I couldn't play it on PS4. I traded it back in, and I hadn't been back to it since until I got my PS5. And I've been playing it at 60 frames. It runs perfectly. I've had no crashes, nothing, no glitches, not a problem. The combat's really fun. Like, I've gone for a sort of ninja style build. I'm like really good with a sword. I'm constantly throwing knives into people's heads. It's brilliant. I'm really enjoying myself with it. The performances are a little bit strange. Like, I'm playing as a male version of V, and I don't know, some of the voice acting, that's a little bit odd. I think that Keanu Reeves is possibly the worst thing about the game, unfortunately, as much as I like him as a person. He's just so wooden and weird, and just doesn't seem like an actual human being. That's not great. But the world that they've built is possibly my favourite video gaming world ever. Like, it is absolutely gorgeous. The sort of interweaving streets and side streets and stairs that come up here that take you to another street, and it's just absolutely stunning game design. And how, like, they've got little like the big police, like crimes going on, and you can go and stop the crime and you get a bounty for it. Every single one of them has like a sneaky way to do it, or of course you can just go guns blazing if you want to, but there'll be like a certain path that will help you do it sneakily, or there'll be certain gadgets around that if you're playing with a cyber build, then you can distract enemies and blow shit up or hack them. Or it's like
The
RPGs like that always talk about giving you the choice to do stuff how you want to do it, and this absolutely nails that. Absolutely.
The
nails
only
it. And I think it's
criticism that I have and I did kind of feel this way in Witcher, but it's one of those, I think you have to just come round to it, like trial and error. But like, I do find the sort of like level up system in that game very overfacing. Like, there's a lot of like the perk systems that you get, they all seem a bit shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe I've not leveled my character up well enough and stuff, but like, I don't know, I just found with...
There are a lot of perks. I think the way that I've gone about it is to sort of have an idea in my mind of what I want my character to be, like I say, like a ninja, and just go for the perks that sort of tie into that. I know what you mean, though. I was expecting a little bit more from the perks, but it's more like they sort of stack to then slowly mould you into whatever it is you want to be. And I'm playing on a higher difficulty as well, so I've got to sort of stick to my guns with what I'm good at. So I've gone like not complete stealth, but like I'm good with pistols, blades. I've just got a thing installed in my arm that fires rockets, so when shit hits the fan I can just blow motherfuckers up. So yeah, I absolutely love that. And like I mentioned, did I mention it earlier about the driving?
I think you did, yeah.
And the shooting feels great as well. The shooting feels really, really good, really solid. Yeah, just it's great. It's great. It's really good.
I did really enjoy it. I just, obviously, unfortunately, I played it on PS4 and it's not up to par.
The thing with it on PS4 is there was so much like texture popping that it was constantly reminding you that you're in a video game. You know, that's the thing I love about a video game, when it's immersive and you almost forget. You know, and it's on PS5 now. The world is that in depth and beautiful that you easily forget. But yeah, that's my number 5. Anyway, what's yours?
My number 5. I can't make a decision, dude. Well, it's either Pokemon Sword / Scarlet / Atreus. Not Atreus. Legends Arceus.
Oh right, yeah.
They're all absolutely brilliant, and I've played them all sort of over the course of last year. If I had to give,
you'll have to lend me one.
I'll lend you Pokemon Sword. If I'm gonna go down to video game experience, it's gonna be Pokemon Legends.
Yeah.
Because it's
okay. That's like the real prequel one, isn't it? Like you're the first ever Pokemon trainer.
No, you're not the first ever Pokemon trainer. So you go back.
Oh, sorry, is it the first Pokédex?
Sort of, yeah. Again, it's not that you're not the first. Like there's people before you, but basically you wake up and you're in like Japan or wherever it is, during like the 1800s. And you're a bit like, whoa, what the fuck? And it's the...
Oh, so is your character from modern times?
Don't fully know just yet. You're still trying to piece that together.
Right, okay, yeah.
But So you're there, and you're basically you get approached by a professor who's studying Pokemon for a group that are trying to expand their sort of like kingdom and their like territory, but they can't without documenting what Pokemon are sort of in the area as law. So they've basically got this plan to go out, catch as many as they can, and use them for like research and stuff like that, so that way you can sort of expand like your sort of area. That's the storyline, and you play as one of these surveyors. So all your job is to go out into the wild and catch as many Pokemon as you can, different types and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
But you get given like research tasks, and this is where you get most of your XP from. So you'll get given like catch 10 Bidoofs. So you'll catch 10,
Right.
and you'll get like research point, and then you'll get like other tasks.
What can you use your research point on?
Well, it's just like a level up, so you'll get better stats, and like you'll bet. So every time you
Better Pokemon catcher stats. But your Pokemon catcher.
yeah, so
stats.
you'll be
Sorry,
able to catch higher levels because they are still level based. So
Right, yeah.
and there is still battling in it, but it's not as
Yep.
common unless you decide to battle wild Pokemon. But you don't run into like trainers every 5 seconds is the main sort
Yeah.
of caveat. But it's really cool because you see like it's like all very open world, so
Yeah.
almost in like a action shooter, like you throw the Pokeball in like third person.
Oh, so it's like over the shoulder.
So you throw the Pokeball over the shoulder.
So, like Max Payne
yeah,
for Pokemon.
and like throw it, and like there's a chance that you can catch it, but like some of them you've got to sneak up on, some of them you've got to try and challenge and distract, or like there's all these different things, and it is kind of a precursor to all the Pokemon games that have come before it, and done really cleverly, because one of the things that you quickly find out in the game is you've got to help these 8 nearby tribes, each one having an affinity for a certain element, and it's like, oh,
So you're building the Pokemon gyms. That's fucking
so
sick.
you're also like helping
I love that.
construct these like future things, and like
That's
it's
brilliant.
just kind of cool. I like it. But yeah,
Yeah, that sounds really good.
that's my number 5.
I've had a few people like sort of describe it to me, and I've seen a lot of footage of it, and the thing that's put me off most is that I think it looks ugly. Like, it doesn't look nice.
It is very
the
I think the opening world that I'm sort of in at the moment, so the sort of main grass area,
like grasslands, like typical opening area for a Pokemon game.
it's very boring. It's very tedious.
Yeah,
But I have
it's kind of empty from what I've seen as well. Like, there's not a lot there.
it depends on what time of day you go out.
Right.
And sort of in the starting area, no, it is pretty empty. But then when you start going further afield, where there's like higher level Pokemon, like, and this is another thing, they will attack you.
Yeah,
You the person.
Yeah.
So
I've
you
heard
can
about
get
this.
knocked out.
Yeah.
And then you lose all your like resources that you gathered at that time.
Right. Yeah. Can you pick them back up?
Only if you
Can you go to where you
only
fell?
if you run back. But you can end up picking up.
Yeah. Dark Souls. So it's Pokemon
Kind of,
Dark
yeah.
Souls.
Um,
Is there a dodge
there
button?
is.
Fuck
There
off.
is.
That's right. That's crazy.
Roll. Just keep rolling. Honestly, it's
That's
kind of
mad.
sick, because like you'll have like this huge ass Pokemon like come barreling towards you, and you'll like roll out the way and just try and throw a Pokeball at like the last possible second.
Yeah,
And it's amazing. Like, it's such a cool experience. And like,
slow motion bullet time
yeah,
dive, throwing the Pokeball like Max Payne. That's class. Yeah, I'll have to give that a try once you finish that as well. My number 4. I could have spoke about it in what we've been playing recently because it's on PS5. But Returnal, I know you've played a little bit.
I'm glad I played a little bit.
And it's fucking excellent. Like, I've still not finished it. I've gotten to, I think, the 3rd boss. I've got into him 2 or 3 times now, and he's killed me every time. It's a tough game, but I think if you were to boil it down to like 3 things, you'd be like, it's gorgeous. The sound design is incredible, and it's the pace, I think, is just perfect. Like, I don't know, it's, you're jumping around, you're sprinting around, but you're constantly shooting, you're constantly looking out for hazards, you're dodging stuff. When you're in one of those encounters, it's breakneck speed, and like blah blah blah, blah jumping around, blah blah blah. And
it reminds me of, like, again, the old school sort of like platformer, the sort of, you know, dodging environmentals, and even like the attack patterns of like the aliens that you fight. They're like,
they come at you like there's a bit like a line of orbs coming towards you slowly, and it's like, jump over that.
To use the common Dark Souls saying, "Get good." That's the only way to truly.
It's that simple.
Truly enjoy this game. Like, you can read tutorials, you can read whatever you want, but the aim of the game is
you need to get the feel for it. Yeah.
And I'm all about that. That's one of the things I love about Elden Ring, which I've been playing that on PS5, but I'll mention that later.
Yeah, I think you might,
Oh, I'm ready.
But yeah, it's so good, and like the whole setting of it, I think, is brilliant, and the little bits of information you find out about the alien race that are on this planet, Atropos, and all the names are so clever as well. Like Atropos, it's like atrophy, which is like
a theme,
like time thing, like and like even like the first bit where, or like on your first life, when she finds another body and she's like, oh, there's another scout here or whatever they're called, I'm just gonna identify who it is. She's like, it's me. And then every single little like you find like voice recordings from like her past lives when she's tried to escape or whatever, and she's been killed, and like some of them, like, they've gone absolutely insane. Like, you might not have heard them yet, but they'll be talking absolute gibberish, and they'll just sound proper insane. And she'll be like, oh, I don't want to turn into that person, and you're like, ah. And it's just, it hits on such a deep level for a game that is basically just like run around and shoot and don't die. That whole loop of it is done so well. Like, we were talking about Hades and stuff earlier. Like, this for me is the best roguelite without a shadow of a doubt. It blows all the others out of the water for me.
I have really enjoyed what I've played. I've not played too much though, because I've been playing something else. But yeah, it is really cool. I like it because it's got very sort of sci-fi horror, whilst I don't think it leans too heavily on it, and I've sort of said this. It definitely has that horror influence that I like, that sort of dark, sort of oppressive atmosphere.
Big time. And there's a few different biomes in it.
Well,
as
I've only discovered one.
The first one
it's
you
just
start
very
off in is
dark, but it's not.
Yeah, it's like a jungle almost.
It's not dark in the
it's
sense that
awesome.
you can't see where you're going. You can always sort of see where you're going, but you just feel like part of the darkness is actually part of the character.
And there's like mist and fog everywhere.
Oh my God, it's
and
beautiful.
Like yeah, like the way that the foliage moves when you're like running past it. Like you might run through a bunch of leaves and they'll like spin up into the air, and a couple of them will chase you a little bit.
I really like the
you slipstream.
I really like
brilliant.
that you've got to scan items before you can pick them up, and it'll sort of.
So it's the first time you use an item, it's like, oh, and it'll say at the bottom, it'll be like, oh, potentially beneficial, safe to approach, and then you'll do the scan. It'll tell you what it is. And that has a really satisfying vibration on the dual sense as well when you're doing the scan. It's brilliant. That like a quick succession of like beeps, but that get quicker and quicker and quicker until it's just like a murmur. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, and I think the different weapons feel really punchy and really quite different. Like there's you won't have come across them all yet, but the way that they work are really clever. And I love the secondary fire mode where you have to crunch the left stick down to fire like a bomb or a missile or something. And yeah, it's just so good. The boss fights as well. Like the boss fight that I'm on, the third one, is absolutely mental. Like I've said it a few times in the past. Fighting God in space is like the pinnacle of boss fights, and I'm only on the third boss, and that's basically God in space. So like, well, where the hell are they going to go after this? So yeah, I'm excited to go back into that. It's one that I can sort of drop in and out of as well. It's very easy to pick up and play.
I find that with a lot of roguelikes. And I think that's why they have such a long-lasting sort of influence on me. Because like, with other like roguelikes that I played before, you can literally just pick it up and you'll, even if you've not played it for 6 months, you'll know the path because you've done it that many times that you're like, I'm gonna get through this one way or another. So yeah, I'm all for that. And I feel like this is gonna just become a joint top 10 list because we're both sounding off each other's games. But I'm gonna.
Oh, why have you got Return on your list already?
But it's one that I would definitely put on there.
Yeah. Well, what's your
my
number
number 4 is Slay the Spire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
So another roguelike. It's card-based roguelike. Very simple to play. Very simple to play. Difficult to master. Sort of situation. You've got 3 possible sort of like classes. Is it 3 or 4?
I think you unlock a 4th. Okay. I think there is a 4th one. But
there's 4.
They all start with very basic.
Decks, and then every time you encounter an enemy type, you play like your cards, and you earn cards back and other treasures and stuff like that. And it's just so easy to pick up and play. And especially as well if like you're sort of in the mood to play something, but you don't really want to commit fully to anything. It's one
or pay too much attention.
Yeah, it's one that you can just sort of play in the background and take a while to think about your move, like your next move or whatever. Like it's one of them.
I think it was one of my favourite podcast games. Like when I was playing it, great to just pop a podcast on. And play that.
Like it's so, and like the sort of aesthetic of it is wonderful as well. Like the sort of art style that they've gone for, like it's very not basic. That's not the right term, but when you compare it to like other video games,
well, I know what you. Yeah, because it's 2D, isn't it? It's side on 2D animation. But yeah, they've gone for sort of like it's kind of creepy in a sense. The art design, it's like leans towards, it's a little bit gothic.
It's got like that fairy tale
strange
aesthetic.
Yeah, but maybe like Brothers Grimm fairy tale rather than that's a great shout.
But I've enjoyed that game so much over the last sort of like 12 months, ever since you recommended it. It was one that like Rogue Legacy, I can just play it and know exactly what to do, and it's just a case of doing better than last time. Like, you have good runs, you have bad runs. Like, much is life.
And you can try different stuff out, because even though you might be playing as the same character, like for example, there's I think it's the second class. She's like a sneaky sort of poison, like stabby style character. And there's a few different ways you can go about the build. Like there's ones where you can get a bunch of cards that don't actually cost anything to play them, so you can just get all these cards and play all these cards. And there's another card that will draw a bunch of those cards that cost nothing, so you can sort of chain those and build those up. Or you could go down the poison route, where you focus on doing poison damage.
See, I generally focus on the magic guy, because you can like stack up your energy points like really efficiently and just deliver like an all-out assault.
And you can get more of those orbs that he uses. So he starts off with I think 3, and you can get it up to I think like 9 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
It's a lot, and then when you've got the right things in the right place and you know what to do and you chain it all correctly, it's so satisfying.
In fact, I need to get it downloaded on my PS4.
Yeah, it's a good one because it's only about a gig as well. Like it's not very big, and you lose hours on that. I'll put that on and think, I'll just do one run, but then it'd be like an hour, and I'm right at the end. I'm like, oh okay.
Can you get it on Switch?
An hour later. I don't know. I think you should be able to, because it's not going to challenge the Switch. Sort of, it's not going to challenge its hardware, is it? So
I'm just wondering.
You should be able to, but I honestly don't know. I know that this next one isn't on Switch. My number 3, keeping up with the roguelite theme, Sifu. A game actually released this year.
I don't recall this being on your list last time, was it? Oh, was it?
It was, actually, yeah. This is... Yeah. This is sort of another roguelite, and when I mentioned before, actually, that Returnal blows all the others out the water, I should have said, apart from the next one, except, because I think maybe this is the best roguelite that there's ever been. It's definitely the best beat-em-up of its kind. That sort of third-person over-the-shoulder, like, go room to room, beat people up. That it's the most in-depth one that I've played. Like, it's from the studio that made Absolver, which I don't know if you played that, but that's like a sort of an indie like kung fu game where you had stances, and it was all about like timing and reading your opponent and dodging and stuff, which was a really cool system. And they basically beefed it up and made it look 10 times better looking, and put like a cool roguelite element on top of it. And there's the physical aspect to it as well. So basically, have you played this?
I haven't played it yet. No.
Right. Well, you have to come to mine. Play it mine. It's so cool. It's like we mentioned before. You got to get good.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think there's a difficulty setting. You just got to get good. It's the only way you win. And it does so much like throughout the game. Like the music is incredible. Like it's all Asian inspired stuff, but it'll kick in at the right time. It'll be a bit softer at the right time, and it's almost seamless. Like almost like the last punch that you land on an enemy will be a big flurry in the music score, and then it'll die down. Like it's brilliant. And one of my favourite mechanics in a game ever is that when he dies, he ages.
I really like that feature.
Which is so cool. And every decade, you age physically, so you look different. Which I noticed as well, which is kind of weird. He starts off, he's got kind of like a vest top on, so his arms are out, and he's got quite short hair and no beard. I don't think at the start. I think you start off at like 20 years old, and then the more it goes through, the longer his sleeves get. For some reason, the longer his hair gets, and the whiter his hair gets. But also, your damage output goes up, so you do more damage, but your health bar goes down.
Right. So
it sort of makes sense.
You could do more of a beating.
You're getting older and wiser.
But
you can give more of a beating, but you can't take as much of a beating.
So you've got to really get good.
Yeah, so there's a proper balance to it. Yeah. And yeah, that's just awesome. Like the way that they built it as well. Like there's nothing else like it. Like there's 5 levels in the game, and obviously you start the first level at 20 years old, and whatever age you are by the time you finish that level is dictated by how many times you died beating that level and the final boss. So then, say if, for example, you're 26 when you finish that, it means the start of level 2 you'll be 26, and you'll then like fight your way on, and you're trying to do it because you can't come back to life when you've hit 70.
Yeah.
So if you're in your 70s, that's it. You're gonna die. Yeah, it's so cool. And then you'll finish, say, level 2, but you'll be like 68, and you're like, well, I'm not going to get anywhere in level 3, so I'll go back to level 1, start at 20 again, but I've got all this, because you can unlock stuff that you can permanently upgrade your abilities. So you're like, I'll go back to level 1, finish level 1 again. This time, I managed to do it without dying. So now I'll start level 2 at age 20 as well. Then finish that, and I still died a few times, but I'm only 42
So
now.
you might have a bit.
So I can do level 3.
More of a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just a really, really cool way of doing it. And I think the boss battles in that are really good as well. They're all 2-stage, but there's like cool art change when it goes into that second stage for all of them.
Sort of, what would you say is best console to play it on?
Well, I haven't played it on PS5.
So what did you play it on?
PS4.
Oh right, okay. Fair news.
Yeah, it's a PlayStation only thing. It might be on PC
it's on Switch
actually
as well.
But
I'm
Sifu?
sure I saw it on Switch earlier today.
Oh, it might have come. In fact, yeah, because I think it came out around this time last year, early in the year, and I think it was a 12-month exclusivity thing with Sony. I might be wrong, but yeah, it may well have come to Switch now. But I'd be honest, I wouldn't play it on Switch. I don't know if. Yeah, because I played it on PS4 and it ran perfectly on PS4. Because the graphics aren't gonna. It isn't gonna be what pushes the Switch. It's the pace of it. Like sometimes you're having to dodge like 3 or 4 attacks and then counter all within probably like a second or 2 seconds, maybe something like that. Like it sounds mad quick, but you're using the stick to dodge. So I wouldn't recommend it for Switch, to be honest.
Right.
No, I'd say hang on, play it at my house, see what you think of it, and then,
I'll probably get it for PlayStation in all honesty, because stuff like that, I find it easier on PlayStation.
Yeah, I think for that you need a proper controller, like a Switch Lite or a standard Switch
We've
Joy-Con.
spoke about this game before, but
properly.
it kind of, for me, like one of my favorite sort of like open world games on the like 360 PS3 generation was Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah,
because it had this.
It had great combat. Great kung fu.
Great combat, and it had that sort of like Chinese Hong Kong cop movie aesthetic, where if you've ever watched any of the sort of old school the Cop Story with Jackie Chan and those various like sort of movies, like they all sort of fell in the same sort of plot holes. And this kind of worked on those, but made it a bit more fun and like game friendly.
I think made it a little bit more Western.
But you had like mini games as well, which is something that I think is one of my mentions coming up.
What about
No,
minigames?
well, it features mini games. So my number 3
yeah.
is Yakuza 0, or just the Yakuza series
Oh.
in general.
No, you have to pick one game.
So Yakuza's
You're not having a full series.
Yakuza
Get to
0,
fuck.
but I'd never played a Yakuza game before, and I've played other ones since, and it's just in general.
Okay, but if you were to, like, say, for example, like, I know I'm not a fan of the Yakuza games. It's not something I'm going to get into. But if you were to recommend to me, like, a Yakuza game to come into as a complete newbie, I know nothing about it. Which one would
Yakuza
you tell me to
0,
play?
the one that I started with. It's relatively
Right.
shorter, and it's a prequel, as far as I can tell, to the sort of like
Right.
main game series.
Yeah. That would make sense, it being called Zero, I guess.
It like basically gives you the backstory of like two main characters going forward, and like how they met. It's got very like sort of arcadey vibes. So like very, you're just wandering around and some random thugs will want to fight you in the street, and you know it's bash a few buttons and knock them out and stuff. But in its essence, the game itself, the reason why they're so playable is because they're just so fucking weird. Like, you'll be walking down the street and there's like a living statue that needs to take a piss. And he's like, "Oh, come here, come here." He's like, "Can you distract these people so I can go for a wee?" And you can say, "Yeah, no, like, nah, I'm not helping you," or yeah. But it's gonna cost you. And so you task a Yakuza member, a gangster, are tasked with trying to distract this audience of people whilst this living statue tries to go for a wee. And when you're playing it makes perfect sense, but then afterwards it feels like a fever dream. And I love that.
Yeah.
I want more of that. And I have played one of the more recent ones recently, and it's more of the same. It's very much a franchise that knows what they're doing and knows that people want the sort of weird aesthetic. But another cool factor about it is like there's a lot of mini games, like there's karaoke, which plays very much like Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
But the better you do, the better the visuals become. So if you do shit like I normally do, he's basically just wailing in a bar and people are like, "Boo." But if you start doing really well, it looks more and more like a music video.
Right.
So like you see these big like dramatic sequences where he's like doing a like guitar solo and stuff, but like if you do shit, he's just bombing in some sort of bar, and it's just a really nice mini game that I quite like about it, even though in other games I would find that tedious. The way that they've done it is just spectacular.
Yeah, cool. Well, I know for a fact I don't like the Yakuza games. Nothing against them. It's just more Japanese bullshit that I don't need. We all know how I feel about Japanese weirdness for weirdness' sake. Can't do it. I can't do it. I can't sit there comfortably and do that. But if you enjoy it, then all power to you. There's about 100 of them fucking games
To
that
be
you can
fair.
be playing. I believe they have them in sort of two forms now. So they have the mainline Yakuza, which I believe is now turn-based combat, and they have the spin-off, which what's it called, Judgment.
Which I have downloaded.
like
I haven't
different...
played it yet, but I have downloaded it.
Yeah, I think he's a cop, and that is more traditional Yakuza style gameplay. So that's more like the beat 'em up style, which I think that's cool as fuck to have a game where it's so popular. You can be like, okay, should we do two versions of this game? and have like a new one that we can keep working on and improving, which the turn-based one, but then still have the traditional stuff that everybody loves, but on a slightly different side. So yeah, I kind of love what they're doing. It's just a shame I don't like the games.
I think it's one that, because I've kind of got a bit like that with Final Fantasy. It's just the storylines are nonsense. I
think a lot of people have got like that with Final Fantasy. In fact, I think I was reading something the other day that the director of the new one actually came out and said he's like that his favourites were 4 and 6, and that since then they've like lost their way and sort of forgotten what Final Fantasy was supposed to be about. And a lot of the fans are like, cool, we'll sort it out then. Which he's supposed to be trying to. But yeah, good shout. Was that your number 3?
Yes.
Yeah, so my number 2, we've already mentioned it, so we won't spend too long on it, but Midnight Suns, Marvel's Midnight Suns, my second game, number 2 of the year. Despite all the bitching that I mentioned before about the sort of social aspect of it, speaking to everyone, and the story being a bit naff, I couldn't give a toss about all that stuff.
It's just fun to play.
The combat gameplay is so good. It's so much like Slay the Spire that I know for a fact you would love it, because the combat it's basically Slay the Spire cubed.
Yeah.
It's in a 3D arena. You can move around, and you've got 3 heroes. They've all got their own decks, and it's so good. Like some of the for instance, I'll try and think of it. So, you have this meter called the heroic meter, which if you play a normal attack card, you'll build 1 or maybe 2 to your heroic meter, and then you can use that heroic meter to do heroic attacks, which are again cards, but they require a set amount of heroism to use, and they'll be like big like blasts or whatever. Like there's one that Iron Man does where he damages everyone in the arena, or all the baddies in the arena. And one of the things with it is that there's 2 kinds of enemies, or I guess 3 kinds of enemies. You've got like the grunts, or I don't even know what they call them, the peons, whatever they're called. They don't have any health; they just die from 1 hit. But they can still do a lot of damage to you, so you need to be careful, take them out. Then you've got guys like elites that have got health, so like tougher. Like I think it's Hydra that you're going up against most of the time, and you've got bosses as well, which are like different variations of both goodies and baddies from the Marvel universe. They've been corrupted by Lilith, so like you could be fighting Venom, for example, but he's got horns and he's massive and he's got a tail and all this stuff.
Sexy.
But yeah, like the way that you can sort of chain your cards together after a bit once you've unlocked some cards, and similar to Slay the Spire, like what's his name, Blade in the game, who he's not one of my favourite, but he's a good example for this. He has a couple of avenues that you could go down. Like he can apply bleeding damage, which makes sense. He's got a big sword. He's called Blade. But he can also use like vampiric powers to like recoup health, like do damage, but then recoup health to himself. Or say if you've got bleed on people already, he can do an attack that puts what's called marked on those enemies, which means that if you kill that enemy, then it refunds the card that you used, or the card play, because you only get 3 card plays per game. So there's so many different ways that you can go about it. It's so deep, and everyone that I've spoken to about it as well, they're saying it's like a 60-hour game, which, man, I'm there for that. Like, that'll keep me busy for months. So yeah, so impressed. I followed the development for a long time, and I was sort of on the fence, because it's one of those, like, until you play it, you've
Yeah,
got no idea
when you sort of describe it,
you know,
it doesn't sound like what
it's-
people would want.
no.
But
doesn't sound sexy,
No.
does it? No.
um,
Yeah, it's so
yeah,
fun.
I mean, to be fair, I love my sort of like card games.
What's your
my
number
two? God of War Ragnarok.
It's not that card
No.
game, is it?
God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually higher on my list, so we'll talk about that now because it's my next one on my list anyway. So yeah, God of War Ragnarok. I love it. I still want you to finish it so that we can actually talk about it properly. But yeah, it's my number one. Yeah, nothing beat it out for me this year.
Well, there is one that would beat it out for me.
We'll come to
But
that.
yeah, no, I'm not going to talk too much because I think because you've completed it, you can tell a bit more. But from what I've played so far, I know I had my gripes about sort of it feeling a bit more of the same, but the way that
Is that a bad thing?
it isn't it isn't
You know what I
it
mean?
isn't.
Like the first one
It
was
isn't,
so
it isn't.
good. Like
They're doing it very well, but other games that may have tried to do something similar have fallen very hard because they've relied too heavily on what came before. This is working really, really well because you have got, there's like a sort of paradigm shift from the first game to the second game where you sort of see Atreus looking after Kratos a lot more, and it's Atreus.
sorry. In which game is Atreus looking after
Ragnarok.
Kratos? Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
sort
I'd
of
agree
like
with that.
caring
Yeah,
for him, whereas in sort of the
yeah.
first game, it was obviously very much the other way around.
See, the biggest theme shift for me from the first to the second was in the first. It was all about Kratos struggling to be a father, really, to be there for his son, and to not just sort of teach him how to survive, but to how to be a good person. You know, that's something he was really struggling with himself. And like, there's a brilliant scene at the start of the first game where obviously Atreus just lost his mum, and he's really upset, and it shows Kratos go to put his hand on his son's shoulder, but he pulls away at the last minute because he can't be there. He can't do it. He can't be there for his son. But then in the second one, I think quite early on, there's a scene where like Atreus is a bit like upset about something, and Kratos got no qualms about putting his hand on his son's shoulder, and giving him a word of advice, encouragement, and that shows the development there, which I absolutely love. And in the second one, like if the first one's all about, say, not even a reluctant father, like a struggling father, he's struggling with trying to be there for his son to raise him. The new one, it's more about the father sort of struggling to let go of his son. You know, his son's getting to an age now where
He's got his own identity.
You know, exactly, and I think he struggles with that a bit, and it's sort of a different take of the father-son relationship.
You can definitely feel the sort of Last of Us influence on it.
Oh yeah.
I think
big time.
was like we've already said, we've established that we are both major fans of the God of War, but it's just so well executed, and like obviously we can round it off by just talking about it forever. Have you got another one to mention before your number two?
No, that's my number one.
So your number one, my number one, Elden Ring. It's
I think we all saw that coming.
Spectacular, and I've been playing it on PS5 as well because it came with a free update, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's really cool.
I've been you know what? I nearly bought it the other day because, like I say, I've got those vouchers, and it was on offer for like I think £35, and I almost bought it, but I know exactly what will happen. I'll buy it. I'll play it for maybe 6 hours. And then I'll
there's
be
a
like,
really
fuck this.
You know, there's a really good multiplayer drop in, drop out system.
Yeah, but if I just don't, I don't know, man.
Right.
I don't know.
Allow me to pitch it to you.
I'm not gonna
allow me to pitch it to you. Like,
go for it. Yeah. Why is it your number one?
It's
Why is it better than God of War? Which it's not.
No,
But,
I genuinely think that this probably will be one of my all-time favorite video games moving forward for a long time. Purely because, like, I'm a huge fan of the sort of Soulsborne series. I love Dark Souls. I love Bloodborne. I've recently started playing Demon Souls, which...
Have you played Sekiro?
Yeah, it's the only one that I'm not mad keen on, only because the combat is so different.
So that's my favourite one. Because the combat's different.
Well, that's it.
That's the one that I got furthest on, but I still hit a wall with that and said, fuck this shit.
With Elden Ring, it's kind of all of it, everything they've worked up to in one huge game. The entire thing's beautiful. Like, when Harry was on here, he was talking about how, you can explore certain areas of the map several times and still never fully have explored it all, because there's just that much, like, in depth to it. The storyline is spectacular. The enemy design is wonderful, and something I noticed yesterday when I was playing it is how the music changes quite dramatically depending on what you're doing. So if you choose to stand and fight, it's quite heroic. But then if you choose to sort of like run away, it's got like a sort of flair to it where it's almost like trying to
Is it more like plinkety plonkety?
No, but it almost like
you're running away.
Like it's trying to make you nervous. Like, it's very oppressive music. It's got a wonderful multiplayer system where it's just drop in, drop out. The story, as partially written by George R.R. Martin, is amazing. It's so well crafted, and if you ever do get it, I'd love to do a sort of like play with you and sort of give you a sort of tour and try and build the world up with you to sort of say, like, this is what this represents and stuff. Because it's one of those games where the more you know about it, the more you'll recognise things and you'll be like, oh, and very much like Lord of the Rings, I will happily say that the Soulsborne collective is one of my favourite fantasy settings ever created. More than Lord of the Rings, more than Star Wars, more than anything, because everything sort of makes sense the way that they've crafted it together, and it's got this like poetic sort of set of rules within them where they kind of all exist in the same universe, but they're so vastly different. But you can see how like they could all tie into one game. Like more Elden Ring, more Dark Souls, more Demon Souls.
Yeah.
More. I love.
Well, I must say, I never would have thought that you'd have put this as your favourite game of the year. And in fact, I'm just thinking, is this your only game from 2022 on the list?
God of War Ragnarok.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're number 2, yeah.
Pokemon Arceus. Arceus. I'm sure that came out earlier this year. Earlier last year. I'm sure it did, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was you before. Fair enough.
Came out recently.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, it's not like all mine were from this year. No, it's just, yeah. Well, good stuff. Well, yeah, that's our top 5s. You got any special mentions?
I do. I want to make a special mention to Ghost of Tsushima. It's fucking wonderful on PlayStation 5. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Miles Morales. I nearly did put this on my top 5 over God of War. Only reason being because I've completed Spider-Man. So I can talk about it as being...
Yeah. To be fair, it's only like 8 hours long.
That's
Miles
it.
Morales.
And that is one of my other reasons for not putting it on my top 5 list, because it still does feel a bit DLC for me.
Hot take, I prefer Miles Morales to the original because there's much less of the playing as Peter Parker bullshit.
And
like, I think there is a little section where you play as Miles Morales, I think like in his apartment or something, like Christmas time or whatever. But that's fine. Like, I actually quite enjoyed that. And then they were like, right, and now you're Spider-Man for the rest of the game.
I also enjoyed the combat.
Don't force me to play as Mary Jane. With like the venom punches
stealth.
And stuff, like, and going invisible.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a nice take. My two special suspensions. Oh, Jesus Christ. Special mentions. Got a couple. There was Tunic.
I was looking at this the other day.
Nearly went onto my list. Yeah, it's brilliant. I would say if you get a chance to play that. You'll love it. It's very Dark Souls inspired. There are literal bonfires that are your save points. You collect stuff, and you if you die, you lose it all, and you've got to go back and collect it. There's a lot going on. The coolest thing about that I would just want to mention quickly is there's a mechanic where you find basically pages to like an old school video game manual. And you literally flip through the pages. You would have it doesn't tell you anything about the mechanics until you get these pages. And you find them, you put them together, and a lot of it's written in some weird language that you can't understand, but you'll be able to understand what it does because there'll be a button prompt and then a picture, and it shows you how that works. And it's like a really beautiful art style. That's brilliant. Battlefield 2042. Spent quite a bit of time on that. Good Battlefield game. It was fixed by the time I was playing it. I know that it had a bit of a shaky launch, but yeah, I spent many hours sniping people in that game. There's nothing quite as satisfying as hitting a headshot from like 500 meters through a sniper scope, and you watch the bullet drop, and you hit them. Love that.
I do enjoy what I've played of the
Battlefield
games. They've been pretty decent.
Yeah, I prefer them to Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty for me is just too quick. It just seems a bit silly. I prefer a bit more realism. I'm not saying that Battlefield is realistic, but it's more realistic than Call of Duty.
And Marvel Snap.
Yeah, it's got to have a mention. I've spent so much time on that game. In fact, I've bought 2 of the battle passes as well. So I spent like £15 on that game, which is mental to me. I've never spent money on a mobile game. That's crazy. So yeah, that's a great game.
How the mighty have fallen.
I know, yeah.
Well,
yeah, cool. So that's our top games of the year. I think did I come up with this? I think I came up with this plan.
You did. You came up with the script.
I think so. Hey, check me. So yeah, next one was a little bit about what we're looking forward to next year, and this could be games, movies, TV. If you've got any mentions off the top of your head.
I'm looking forward to the Hogwarts Legacy. I'm looking forward to the new Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it's coming out.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2. That's been confirmed for next year. Yep.
And
I hope that's 2-player. That would be so fucking cool if that's 2-player co-op.
I reckon you're
gonna
be able to change as play as Spider-Man and Miles Morales. Yeah. It's kind of
like say if you're playing it 1-player, you can just click a button and you swap to Miles Morales, and you can do like little combos as you're switching, like in the Arkham games.
Another thing is I think we're going to be able to play as Venom.
Hopefully. See, yeah, I hope so. I don't know if we'll be able to play as Venom.
I reckon we will.
I don't know. I would love it, especially
if it's free roam.
I just think Venom's going to be
If it's free roam,
I think
Venom.
Venom will be one of the big bads. I think what we're going to get, I think the actual big bad, because you hear Craven's voice in it, don't you? In the trailer. I think we're going to see Venom Craven.
Do you know?
Which has been done in the comics. And he was badass,
I think I already know the plot to the new Spider-Man game. And we've already discussed this. We discussed this when we worked together. So, I reckon that you're going to start the game playing as Peter Parker, who's going to be swinging along, investigating a crime, and there's going to be this, like, villains that have, like, tried to rob a specimen sample from Oscorp. It's broken. Spider-Man gets some on his suit, but manages to, like, knock them all out. Goes home, develops the black spider suit. Cut to you playing as Miles Morales, and you know it's Spider-Man being a bit more psychotic, a bit more, like, brutal and stuff like that, and you have to take him down. Well, no, I think you have to take him down, which I think you will do because you have Lightning Punch and are superior.
What I thought was weird, before I forget, is that the fact that Miles Morales' attacks are called Venom attacks.
Yeah.
Even though they have nothing to do with it. It's like, they could have definitely come up with a different name for that, especially if they knew they were doing Venom in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that was a bit of a weird decision.
It was a bit of a weird decision.
But yeah, sorry, go on. Yeah.
And then, basically, Spider-Man manages to get the suit off. It's going to go on to somebody else. You're going to start playing as Venom.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Craven is going to play a massive part in sort of this story arc. But I think that the black suit is going to corrupt Peter in this game.
I hope so. Because that was one of my favourite storylines in the cartoon as a kid. It was like he sort of accidentally gets this on him, goes to bed, wakes up, and he's on the side of a building with this black suit on. He's like, what the hell? And he's testing out his abilities and stuff. He's like, I'm faster and stronger than I was before, and blah, blah, and that's the whole reason why Venom has the big spider on his chest, because it was on Spider-Man first.
And it copied.
I can't... Yeah, so it's like...
So...
Is it going to be that version of Venom?
The reason for that is because the symbiote, the alien substance, whenever it passes a host, it takes on, like, part of...
It's an imprint.
Hence, when it takes on Venom, it's got the spider symbol on the chest. But...
Which is why in the Venom films, he doesn't have it.
Does he not? Ah, I didn't know that.
Because he's not been on Spider-Man. In the Venom films, he's just gone straight to Brock, hasn't he?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But yeah.
What am I looking forward to? Ooh, there's a lot, to be fair. Like, if next year, I'm gonna rhyme off just a bunch because there's a fucking load. Like, if I would say if half of these come out next year, it's going to be one of the years in gaming that we look back at and be like, what a year. So we've got Jedi Survivor, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Starfield, Forspoken, Hogwarts Legacy, like you mentioned, Diablo 4, Redfall, Suicide Squad, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Atomic Heart, which comes out in Feb.
Yeah.
That's the Bioshocky looking one.
Interactive.
Got the Dead Space remake. Baldur's Gate 3. Like,
we're both down for that.
Dude, like, yeah, there's so many coming out next year. Just like, yeah. I hope as well that what we see from next year is the end of the COVID hangover, and we stop seeing all these delays and stuff like. I'm happy. I don't mind when a game gets delayed if it's to make sure it's going to be perfect, but just stop giving us a release date if it's not going to be
just
ready.
Just say, it's coming at some point. You'll be fine. Just don't
even give us a date. Just like release a teaser, whatever. Do what you want, but don't give us a date. Just be like, coming soon. Like, cool. Well, in fact, don't even say coming soon, because to me, coming soon is
Next
like
week.
in the next few weeks. Yeah, exactly.
Just give me
yeah,
2 secs, dude.
Just say coming.
Down, 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 down. It's a sexy guitar, is that?
Yeah, it's cool.
I might keep some of that in if it sounds good.
Oh, I barely do
Yeah,
anything.
but it could be like a good sort of pause break.
I could send you some of them if you wanted.
Us.
If you wanted me to do like
man.
a few little stings.
Well, I was thinking we might need to do
I
a
could
new
do that.
intro. But anyway, right. Sorry. Things we're looking forward to next year. Another thing that I'm looking forward to, and this kind of goes out of video games whilst staying quite snugly in video games. Last of Us TV show.
Yeah, baby. That was the next thing I was going to mention. At the time of recording, that actually comes out a week tomorrow. So it's the 14th of Jan. I can't wait for that. Wait for that. I know it's an adaptation of the first game, and it's basically telling the same story. And I've seen some of the shots. Some of it is shot for shot the same. But I love that. Like, I think my favourite thing about this is that it's one of my favourite ever game series, and it's coming to HBO, meaning there's going to be so many people now that have never played the game, never give a shit about the game, that are going to experience this brilliant story. And I'm going to be able to talk to them and be like, hey, how good is The Last of Us? And they're like, it's so good.
Well,
I can't wait.
Keep recommending it to Jay and saying, like, look, if you're ever looking for something to play, Last of Us. Like, I've got the first one in my library.
What?
She's
never played it?
She's very particular about what kind of video game she likes. But she said she will play it, but she has to feel like she's in the right mood for it. But she is very interested in watching the show. Because she does like the sound of the story. So I was like, well, when the show comes out, do you want to watch it together? So I low-key cannot wait for that. I think that's going to be absolutely brilliant. Because it's been done by HBO, I think it's really going to have that creative flourish that it needs.
I think something really important as well is that Neil Druckmann, the game director on both 1 and 2, is heavily involved. Like, I think he's even directed a couple of episodes. And you've got some returning characters as well. Like some actors are playing the same reprising roles, coming back playing the same characters. Other actors, like the Joel and Ellie actors from the games, they're playing different characters, so they're still going to be in it. And like little stuff like that, I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. I cannot wait. I read a story the other day actually that Pedro Pascal was getting a bit of blowback from the studio because of his inability to grow a full beard. Because obviously Joel's got a nice full beard, hasn't he? But yeah, Pedro, he can't manage it, and I feel his pain. Like, you can't penalise a guy for that. It's that's it's akin to racism. You know what I mean? He's got no choice about that.
Leave the man alone.
Yeah.
I still think that Bradley Cooper would have been my go-to for Joel.
That is a good shout. Yeah. It's pretty good. But I've got to say, Pedro Pascal quickly becoming my favourite actor.
He's a phenomenal actor
ever. Like, he's fucking brilliant. Well, he was one of my favourite characters in Game of Thrones, Prince Oberyn. Like, I thought he played that brilliantly.
He was
obviously he's the Mandalorian. Like, how can you be such a good actor in the Mandalorian when you don't see his face for like 95% of the thing, but you still absolutely root for him. You relate to him, and it's like you don't see his fucking face. He'll do a little head tilt, and you're like, oh, he's so sad. How do we know?
Look at Gromit from Wallace and Gromit. Yeah, Wallace and Gromit. Like, he never spoke.
Yeah, he had a face.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah, but he had face, he had features.
yeah.
And,
Well,
yeah, like, I think that's it, like,
Mandalorian.
being unspoken is quite, not easy, but it's easier to have facial expressions and stuff. To have just literally just a silver helmet.
Alright, yeah, fair dues.
And, because he doesn't say much either.
No,
does he,
he's very
really,
quiet.
As the Mandalorian.
Um,
It's quite stoic,
has he
isn't
been
it?
in the
So,
Marvel series yet?
yeah. I don't believe so. No, I don't think he has.
Question.
See, he would have been a good Doctor
A
Strange.
good Doctor Strange. And I'm also thinking he might actually make a good Iron Man.
I think, yeah, possibly. I think maybe he's a bit old.
Yeah, but Iron Man doesn't have to be that young.
Yeah, true. It could be an alternate universe Iron Man.
Oh, I'll tell you what I am looking forward to in terms of Marvel. Fantastic Four with John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
Has that been announced?
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's coming out. Might not be.
Oh, in fact, yeah. So, well, this is it. So they've announced. They've definitely announced the Fantastic Four film, but there's no confirmation that it's going to be John Krasinski.
Oh wait, what?
It's because obviously everyone hopes it is. Like, it was a big fan casting for years, and then he turned up in Doctor Strange, and everyone's like, whoa. But you got to remember that the Captain Marvel in Doctor Strange wasn't Brie Larson.
Oh fuck!
It was a different woman, wasn't it? So you've got to.
Oh yeah, because
they might
Captain
not use him. They might have done it as a one-time
It
thing.
wasn't Captain America; it was Captain Britain.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so you got to keep an eye out for that. But it would make perfect sense because people want him and his wife Emily Blunt to play Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman, which would be fucking perfect.
I think that would be a match
those
made
two
in heaven. And they act
absolutely.
well off each other as well. Like the
They
quiet
do, yeah, they really do.
Mwah.
And I've said this. If I've said this once, I've said it a million times. If there's one thing I trust in Marvel to do, is to hire the right people. Their castings have been spotless so far.
Some of the villains,
So-
I don't think necessarily they were cast wrong. I think the villain wasn't well thought out. So when you had like Jeff Bridges playing the Ironmonger in the first Iron Man film, it was such a...
See, Jeff Bridges is brilliant. Love Jeff Bridges. And he was good in the film. I just thought, I know what you mean. The baddie was kind of a bit...
Michael B. Jordan and the sort of...
he was
excellent.
And I thought he was a good villain as well. I thought he was one of the best Marvel villains.
I don't... See, with Marvel...
Mickey Rourke.
Oh, God.
He was awful. If you want to say bad ones, he was awful.
With Michael B. Jordan, he was really good, but I just don't like when it's like just an alternate version of the hero.
I'm usually with you on that.
So you know what I mean?
But I thought his story...
Yeah, I thought his backstory was
but I
fucking
thought his
brilliant,
story...
but I wanted him to have more of an identity
it was...
than just done in a different coloured suit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it sort of played into it because he was supposed to be Black Panther, so why wouldn't he have the Black Panther outfit on? You know what I mean? It sort of makes sense. It's one of them. But yeah, I think he was one of the best that they've had. I'm really looking forward to Quantumania.
Oh
the Ant-Man 3 film, because we're going to get a proper look at Kang the Destroyer. No, Kang the Conqueror. Sorry. We saw him a little bit in Loki series, but we're going to actually see the Conqueror version of Kang.
The guy that plays him
the
is
new
brilliant.
big bad. Exactly, yeah. Again, we're talking about a Marvel casting being fucking brilliant. They don't miss a step. Like that whole Loki series, the woman that plays Sylvie, the female Loki, she's brilliant.
Richard E. Grant.
What's his name? Owen Wilson. Richard E. Grant was in it. Yeah,
so
everyone forgets about that. He was brilliant. He was so good. And it's like, well, obviously he's Loki. Like, look at him. Just brilliant.
He plays
amazing.
that character like an old sort of Shakespearean actor. You know, like
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
he
like
is.
somebody.
That's exactly
yeah,
what he is.
you know, like somebody that's like having like cheese and wine tastings every night, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Like he has that like annoyance to him where he doesn't like what's going on around him, so he just like spits on it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Pointless.
it's so fucking cool. I know, because I'm one of those that I tend to like focus down on like sort of negative aspects of stuff and be like, oh my god, that annoys me.
Yeah.
And I did say about Loki in that I felt that I don't really know where they're gonna go from where they left it off, and that worries me because in the past Marvel's TV shows have started off really well and then lost the thread. Like Daredevil. Like the first season of Daredevil was great. Then it fell.
Yeah. I'd say the first two were really good. Series 3 was a big bowl of
With
shit.
Loki, I'm kind of hoping that, you know, they don't fall down that same path.
Same. In fact, talking of things coming next year, I think Loki 2 has been... Well, Loki Series 2
Next
is
year.
coming out next
and
year.
I think Daredevil Reborn,
Yeah, which I'm
which
there for.
I'm there for.
I think so, yeah. In fact, I read something recently, an interview with is it Charlie Cox, the guy that plays him. He was saying how, obviously, he's done the Netflix series, he did Defenders, he's appeared in...
Spider-Man Homecoming. No.
And, yeah, no, Far From Home, no.
No Way Home.
Spider-Man whatever,
No
No
Way
Way Home. Yeah, No Way Home. And he was in She-Hulk as well. And he's been quoted as saying that if Daredevil Reborn doesn't work, it's like, that's it for Daredevil. Like, or at least that's it for him playing Daredevil. Which would be really sad because I think
he's perfect.
he's brilliant.
Like,
He's really good. I read a brilliant story as well the other day about how for like 2 years after he did Daredevil, he couldn't get any work as an actor, and he couldn't for the life of him figure out why until after a casting session one day. The casting director came up to him and was like, I don't know if anyone said anything to you, but you're acting like you're blind. And he's like, what? So subconsciously, for the 2 years after he finished filming Daredevil, in all of his roles, he wasn't making eye contact with people. He was still acting like a blind character. And they're like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, so I've had to remind myself that when I act, I'm not acting as a blind man. Oh,
yeah, I think he's
I
think he's really good as Daredevil. Like,
yeah. He won an award from the Blind People Association or something, like whatever it's called. I think it's like the Blind Association of America, something like that. They gave him an award for representing blind
because
people.
he plays that role really well.
And said like it's uncanny. You would think he was blind. It's mental. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I can't wait for that. I think next year as well, there's the Secret Invasion series, which is the Samuel Jackson's Nick
Rodeo,
Fury TV series,
sort of his standalone,
which is up. Yeah, and it's something to do with the Kree and the Kree War.
I'm down for that.
What are those ones called? Yeah, it's like a space thing. So yeah, I'll be there for that. Like Samuel Jackson in a TV show. Like, when does that happen? Like, come on.
I do get annoyed with Marvel, but they are when they do something right.
Like, we're fucking
when
spoiled.
they do something right, they do it right. But there's too much mediocre shit coming out at the same time. Like, I watched Elementals.
That's fair. You know,
The Eternals, whatever the fuck it's called.
Oh, The Eternals. Yeah,
Bag of wank.
It's not great. It's a 5 out of 10, isn't it? It's fine.
And I didn't think much of Doctor Strange.
No. In Multiverse of Madness.
No.
It was okay.
And I was really disappointed because I love Sam Raimi.
Like,
Sam Raimi, I'm a big fan of his...
Don't get me wrong, I thought the direction in it was fine. Like, I thought there were lots of sections in it where it was like weird and like falling through dimensions and stuff.
there were
like,
some.
a lot of that was pretty cool, and
Some of the
some
visuals
great,
were
stuff in there.
fantastic.
I just thought the. If have you watched WandaVision?
No, I haven't.
So, well, WandaVision was brilliant, right? And the whole point of it was her dealing with loss, basically. It was how she was getting over the loss of vision. That was basically the whole crux of the show. But, like, she basically, like, so, without spoiling it, she gets over him in a roundabout way. You know, pieces herself back together, sorts stuff out. But then, right at the start of the new Doctor Strange, oh, she's evil. Like, and not just a bit evil, she's full on evil. Like, has been for months on this fucking mission to like rip realities apart and all this stuff. And you're like, well, what was the point in WandaVision then?
Yeah.
Like, you've just completely undermined everything that you did in that show, which was so good. Like, one of the best Marvel shows they've done, if not the best. And yeah, it's like, oh no, we just fucking piss that up the wall and say, yeah, she's actually a baddie. You're like, well, why bother?
But that's
bother?
it. Like, you know, like a lot of the time with Marvel stuff, it is just a lot of cramming stuff together in the hope that it'll fit. But in all honesty, like, there are certain projects I am excited for. I'm excited for the Wolverine game, which I'm sure we'll hear more about next year.
Well, yeah, we won't get that next year, of course, but yeah, we'll hear more. I imagine we'll see.
We'll be hearing more about it.
I don't think we'll see gameplay next year, but I think we'll get like an extended trailer, maybe.
I think we'll have more of an idea of what the gameplay will look like.
Yes,
next
yeah.
year.
I think we'll have a.
And I suspect very much like a Last of Us style.
I was thinking that, yeah,
narrative.
that is what would work best for me, like single player, over the shoulder, linear sort of thing.
Do you know what I think would be really cool? Do you remember one of the storylines that's sort of canon in the X-Men comics and the movies was how Wolverine basically took Rogue across country to the Xavier school.
Yeah.
What if it's that storyline?
Well, that's a bit too close to Last of Us for me. Like, that I'd be like, nah, that's fucking stupid. Like, that's been done. Like, I get what you mean. Like, the Last of Us sort of feel. Like, if I would have it closer akin to God of War. Like, that's how I see it more in my head.
Yeah.
In more that, yeah, over the shoulder, like more hack and slash combat style as well, which sort of makes it easier to picture in my head. But also, the sort of setup, like, I don't think it's going to be open world like Spider-Man is, but I think it'll be more open than The Last of Us. It'll be more like God of War, where it's like backtracking and different areas and stuff. Like, you can go where you want, but it's not really an open world. I think it'd be more along that.
I think you're right on that, because I think there's going to be a lot of like collectibles and stuff to sift through. So that's what we're looking forward to next year.
Yeah, we're getting to the end now. Go for it.
We've got to finish off a quick quiz.
Ooh.
Now, last time I gave you this, I used a job in a wilderness. It was the postman from Skyrim.
Oh, yeah. Did I get it?
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought so.
This time, we're going to go for a creature.
Okay. From a video game.
Are you ready from a video game?
Okay, yep.
But I want the specific video game.
Yep.
Okay. Are you ready for your first clue?
I am.
I'm not human.
Okay, is it the Khajiit from Skyrim?
Nope.
Okay. Next clue, please.
Most would simply run past me and pay me no mind.
Is it Toad from Super Mario?
No.
Okay.
Others would run past me and think to throw me or boot me.
My football? I don't know. Next clue, please.
No. Or you might, in turn, decide to roast me.
Is it a mushroom from Skyrim?
No!
Okay. Can I have more clues, please? Some that actually
If
hint at what the creature is, that would be nice, thanks.
I mean...
What I've got to work with so far is that some people would run past it, take no mind. Some people would kick it. Some would throw it. And some would roast it.
Some would say you can use me to glide from upon high. Oh my god.
What?
Should I just fucking tell you?
Wait. Your clues are shit. Makes no sense.
They're not.
They absolutely
They
are.
aren't. Not if you get it.
A creature from
A creature,
game.
yeah.
I've got no idea. Drawing a blank. Go on.
With feathers on my butt, you'll find me in most villages.
Oh, is it a chicken from Breath of the Wild?
Yeah!
Hey! Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah,
I mean,
your first,
some would run past me.
Yeah, your first few clues were a big bag of wank, I've got to say.
No, they weren't.
They absolutely were.
You see a chicken?
Some would run past me and think to kick me or something like that. You're like, okay. Yeah,
I'm
you
always
kick
kicking chickens in video games.
true.
Whenever there's an option to kick a chicken, I
Yeah.
will kick a chicken.
I've kicked chickens, yeah.
Right.
But you can't kick a chicken in Breath of the Wild.
Can you not?
No.
Well, you can pick them up, though.
Yeah, you can pick them up.
So I also included that.
In a different clue.
No, it was in the same clue. And you can roast chicken.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And
So my clues weren't shit.
Well, okay, 50% of your clues were fine. Yeah. I got there. I got it in the end.
You're just salty, man. You're just salty. But yeah, no, it was a chicken from, just Legend of Zelda. I would have just, if you'd have just said Legend of Zelda, I would have given it you. But yeah, that's been the first recording episode of the L&L podcast in 2023.
Well, hey. Yeah, good one. Long one.
With our...
Enjoy the edit,
It
dude.
is a long one. Yeah. Well, it'll be fine. Let's hope that this year's great. And,
Yep.
you know, like and subscribe. And
Peace and
do
love
the
to one and
thing.
all, I guess.
I can think of some people I'd want to put like a mark against and just be like, maybe a little bit of chaos for them.
Okay, yeah.
Just the odd few.
Tune in next week to find out who. Hey, see what I did there?
Hey!
Oh yeah, cliffhanger.
This is where you would like play us out or something, like just
Oh, right.
this bit, just like
Deliverance.